The topic of this video is graphing exponential functions with the MyMathLab transformations toolbox. Let's look at a problem. Use transformations to graph g of x equals 1 plus 5 raised to the x minus 1 power. Okay, the most common mistake that students make with this problem is they see this 1 out front and they believe that is indicative of some sort of a vertical stretch or a vertical shrink or a vertical compression. It is none of those, because the reason why is because this is being added and not multiplied. So let's use a property of math that you've probably known for a very long time. A plus b is the same thing as b plus a. You can swap the order of addition. Let's do that with this particular problem and write this as 5 raised to the x subtract 1 power plus 1. This makes it much easier to see that this plus 1 is actually indicative of a vertical shift. All right, now we can solve this problem. We begin by writing the parent function, and the parent function is always the base raised to the x power. The base is 5. So we're starting with 5 to the x and transforming it into 5 to the x minus 1 power plus 1. Okay, so we put in our base first, always. Always put the base first. Now go through your transformations in the transformation order. The first thing you should look for is horizontal shifting, which is adding or subtracting inside close to x, which we have here. This x subtract 1 represents a shift to the right, and therefore we use a positive 1 for our horizontal shift. Next thing you should check for is vertical stretching or horizontal stretching, which would be multiplication by a number, which we don't have. Next, you would check for reflections, which would be a negative, which we do not have. This is not a negative, that is subtraction. The next thing we would check for is vertical shifting, which would be adding or subtracting outside far from x, which we have. This plus 1 represents a shift up, so we use a positive 1 for the value of our vertical shift slider. And with that, we've completed yet another problem. Let's just briefly summarize. Put in the base of 5 first, then horizontal shift slider to positive 1, then vertical shift slider to positive 1, and click submit.